Over the years, Huntsman has recognized and acted upon the need for safety and health in the workplace. The personal safety and health of each worker and visitor is our number one priority. We strive to provide a safe working environment. We follow the best available safety practices in design, construction, operation, and maintenance of our facilities and comply fully with all safety, health, and environmental regulations. You as a contractor have a role in our site safety and loss prevention effort. Your work in our facility are governed by OSHA, the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, and by other applicable state and local regulatory agencies and by Huntsman Safe Work Rules, a copy of which has been provided to your organization. This video is a summary of our safety rules and work procedures. These are the minimum standards applying to all contractor personnel. Additional rules may apply to your particular job or task. To begin, let's review some general information and work rules. Posted speed limits of 10 miles per hour must not be exceeded at any time. While working in our facility, you may park in a visitor's parking area in front of the main entrance. Prior to entering, you're required to sign a register indicating your name, affiliation, time of entry, and the individual who you'll be visiting. When you leave the facility, you'll also be required to sign out and give your time of departure. Our facility has an alcohol and drug policy that prohibits the possession or drinking of alcoholic beverages at any time while on company property or reporting to work while under the influence of alcohol. Also prohibited is the use, possession, distribution, or sale of drugs. Committing any of these acts will lead to immediate expulsion from this facility and will be reported to the police as appropriate. Horseplay, fighting, or the possession of firearms are not permitted on the site. The possession or use of any type of camera, including video cameras, is prohibited unless prior approval has been granted. Cell phone use is prohibited in our machine hall, all laboratories, the warehouse, or maintenance areas. If you receive a telephone call while in these areas, please proceed to an adjacent hallway where you can use your cell phone safely. Smoking and the use of tobacco products is prohibited throughout the site and only allowed in outdoor designated areas. Smoking is also prohibited within 25 feet of any transport vehicle carrying flammable or combustible material. Food and drink may only be consumed in the offices or the conference rooms or cafeteria. While at our facility, contractors are under the general guidance of their host. However, contractors are directly and solely responsible for their employees and subcontractors. Contractors are required to use properly trained employees, job trained and safety trained under competent supervision. In the event of OSHA violations or unsafe practices, immediate action will be taken to stop the work and correct the situation. If violations continue or corrective actions are not taken, our company has the option of terminating the work and the contract. Individual violators may be permanently banned from the site. You must report immediately a fire, spill, injury, chemical release, or any other emergency. You can telephone the emergency site telephone number 7777 or notify any Huntsman employee. You must notify your Huntsman host immediately and file a written injury report with Huntsman. Drivers must not park their vehicles or equipment in a place that will block any road or intersection without first obtaining permission from the site manager. This includes loading and unloading operations. When backing up any large piece of equipment in congested areas or where the driver's visibility is limited or in tight quarters, use the second person as the guide. The contractor will be held responsible for any damage to company property, including roads, guardrails, walks, and curbs. While safety regulations and safe work practices minimize the chance of injury, personal protective equipment, or PPE, is required in many situations. The minimum PPE required includes steel-toed shoes, long pants covering the legs and ankles, shirts with long sleeves, and ANSI-approved safety glasses and side shields. Additional PPE may be required for specific jobs. Although there are no areas where the noise level will exceed OSHA standards, hearing protection will be provided upon request. Some jobs require the use of respiratory protection. Contractors are required to train employees and to provide their own respiratory protection for the job. Ladders brought into the facility must meet OSHA standards, be in good condition, and be used only for the intended purposes. Only non-conductive fiberglass ladders are acceptable. All extension ladders must be held by another person or tied off when used by an unaccompanied worker. Failure to follow common electrical safety practices, specifically lockout and tagout procedures, lead to numerous serious injuries and fatalities each year at industrial facilities across the country. Before you begin work in any electrically operated equipment, Please make sure there is a danger do not operate tag on the start and stop switches and that the electrical disconnect breaker has been locked out and tagged by placing your own padlock and tag on the lockout clip. You must also test the circuit to ensure that it has been de-energized before starting work. An approval is needed on all work required of lockout tagout. Properly authorized permits are required before proceeding with many types of work. They will be obtained from the maintenance department. The work permit must be followed and posted at the job site. Written permits are required for hot work that involve any job that can produce a spark. The permit is authorization to proceed with the job. It contains important information concerning the precautions and conditions that must be maintained for the permit to remain valid. Your supervisor should review the conditions of the permit and contact your site host to answer any questions you may have. Potential health hazards from products or raw materials may result in direct, unprotected exposure such as inhalation, skin or eye contact, or ingestion. To support the right to know laws for everyone working on site, safety data sheets for all materials being used in our processes and equipment maintenance are available and easily accessible. The contractor should obtain these through their host. If you need additional information about a particular chemical or material present at our facility, please refer to the safety data sheet for the particular substance. Safety data sheets are located on the second floor, west entrance to the machine hall. All contractors and contractor personnel are required to follow industry practices, facility procedures, and all federal, state, and local regulations when handling hazardous materials. Huntsman uses isocyanates in the machine hall and laboratory areas. Isocyanates may be respiratory or skin sensitizers. If your eyes come in contact with chemicals, go to the nearest eye wash station and flush it for at least 15 minutes. Hold your eyes open and let the water completely rinse the eyes. Have a coworker summon help from the emergency response team as soon as possible and seek proper medical attention. Safety data sheets, or SDSs, give you the correct information to follow in case of an exposure to any chemical. Please be sure to follow this information completely. If you are unfamiliar with the nearest eye wash and safety shower location in your work area, be sure to locate these before you begin work. When work is in progress, access routes to and from the work locations and emergency exits must be adequately lit, maintained, and free of any obstructions. Emergency equipment such as safety showers, eye wash stations, and fire extinguishers must not be blocked or interfered with in any way. All trash, waste, and scrap must be placed in proper containers and removed from the site by the contractor. Disposal of materials at the job site, on the ground, in ditches, or in process sewers is prohibited. In the event of a fire, bomb threat, or other emergency, the appropriate assembly area is outside the building in the south parking lot. Your host will guide you to this area should the emergency alarm sound. In the case of a fire, you should also pull the fire alarm pull box. We should also take all reasonable steps to make sure your supervisor, your host, and other Huntsman officials are also informed. In the event of a tornado warning, the appropriate assembly areas are the classroom located next to the cafeteria on the first floor and the maintenance office on the second floor. Proceed to the nearest area. This will be announced over the site intercom. You will be notified by either your site contact or other Huntsman employees that an emergency exists and how to proceed. When you are notified of an emergency, you must immediately stop all work, turn off all machines, power tools, and heavy equipment. Wait until your permit is reissued before starting the job again. You must report that fire, spill, injury, chemical release, or any other type of emergency by proceeding to the nearest telephone and telephoning 7777. Huntsman has an emergency response team that will respond to any emergency. Our Auburn Hills site seeks continuous safety improvements through our employee-driven alert process or behavior-based safety program. Improving the awareness of behaviors that could put our colleagues at risk is achieved through positive feedback given during employee observations. You may be asked by one of our observers to participate in our program by allowing us to observe you performing a specific task while on site. The data and subsequent discussions generated will help us make sure your visit and all future visits to the site will be safe and productive. So please help us by participating in the process if you're asked. The information presented in this video is a brief summary of the safety information and instructions for contractors to work at our facility. If you have any questions regarding any of these procedures or practices, please ask your host prior to starting the job. Maintaining a safe and healthful workplace requires commitment and cooperation from all of us. Remember, nothing we do is worth getting hurt for.